Hello and welcome to F1 Chat. Today, we're going to be talking about the Monaco Grand Prix results. It was a snooze fest. Anyway, let's get into it. Sauber F1 team. And P16 we have Zhao, and P13 we have Bottas. So Bottas's claim to fame is he had one of the only overtakes of the race. Good for him. I wish there was more. Zhao, he's definitely gone next season. Say goodbye. It's too bad. I like him, but I think he's gone. His race results are just in qualifying is just awful. So it's too bad. Next we have Williams. Albon P9, 2 points. Sargent P15. Sargent has another lackluster race. He's probably gone at the end of the season too. And Albon, best race of the season. Top 10 finished where they started, so just remember that. And that's despite the red flag and all that. We'll get into that later, but yeah. Albon P9, 2 points. That's a good result for Williams. Finally on the board of points. Finally. It's just kind of like it's been a tough season for them. And I was expecting them to actually take a step forward, but they've taken a step back. I think I said that last time too. So moving on, Alpine. Ocon did not finish. Gasly P10, 1 point. So Alpine is a mess. So Ocon announced that it was announced he was going to leave Alpine at the end of the season. And Alpine put out statements after the race that they were going to drop him, possibly, or he was going to be punished in some way. And clearly it just means he's gone. And I think the writing was already on the wall pretty much, but yeah. And he's never been, like, he's an okay driver, but he's never been that good. And then for some reason, I found this really funny, but there's memes on the internet. Basically, Ocon and Gasly reacted to the scene from the Grand Tour where Richard Hammond shows us how to park like a Frenchman. And basically he's like, now if it was my car, I would say, that spot is too small. But if I were a Frenchman, then I would try to fit in that spot. And then it's just a scene of him bashing the two cars while he's trying to park it. It's so funny. Anyway, everyone should watch that. It's on Prime. So anyway, Gasly has his best race of the season despite Ocon trying to crash him. So typical Ocon trying to crash his teammate. And they don't even like each other. Like, I don't know in what world Alpine thought that putting these two together was going to work. Like, I like the idea of an all-French team, but I also don't like it because they're the worst teammates ever. Like, what are they doing over there, Alpine? Seriously. Haas, K-Mag, did not finish. Hulk, did not finish. So, Haas had the most facepalm race ever. Alpine has a close second there, and then Red Bull's in a close third too. Anyway, but K-Mag tries to stick his nose in the inside Perez lap 1 up the hill. Ends up taking out everyone, including his teammate. Ruined Haas's whole weekend. Probably should have been given a penalty, but first lap penalties are very rare, so yeah. Hulk, he never had a chance. He was crashed out. It was just fate. Like, he was like on the outside, a little bit behind, and it was never gonna work out for them. So that's an unfortunate result for Haas. They've actually had a pretty decent season. So it's disappointing for them, definitely. VCarb Racing Bulls, Ricardo P12, Sonoda P8, 4 points. So Ricardo looked to be back in a funk again. Writing's on the wall. Well, or so I thought. They just announced he's going to be back next season. I don't know how they're going to bring him back. Like, this guy's not proven he can do anything. He has 1 P4 in a sprint race, and they're like, oh yeah, he's back, guys. He's back. I like Ricardo, but like, he's just not good. And Yuki, I keep saying, one of the most consistent drivers on the grid. Another point scorer, P8. I think he could go. People are saying he's going to go to Alpine, or I think Aston Martin because of Honda. Honda's gonna be with Aston Martin next year, so or in 2026. So I think Aston Martin's probably more likely. Speaking of Aston Martin, uh, Alonso P11, Stroll P14. They both struggled for pace all weekend. Aston Martin just didn't have it. I think their back wings a little bit too big or something like that, or they I don't know. Aston Martin feels like they're just stuck in the mud. Like they're not like they're really good at the beginning of 2023, and now since then they've kind of just been like eh. Like sometimes at certain tracks they're at, like near the front, and then at certain tracks they're just nowhere, nowhere. Like they've been nowhere. So it's yeah, it's confusing. Mercedes, Hamilton P7, 7 points, fastest lap. Russell P5, 10 points. Hamilton had a good result, but weird strategy call and missed opportunity on the L lap left him stuck in seventh. Like they didn't really tell him to push, even though I don't think they should have had to tell him, but it was weird. Like, and then Russell, he went the longest on the mediums, but it just didn't work out because, the red flag allowed him to change tires at the beginning, so no one had to change, which kind of created a really, really boring race. And Russell made it sort of interesting, but all he did was let Verstappen get close to Hamilton or let or whatever. So it was kind of weird. Or let Verstappen try to run up to him basically, or not Hamilton, Russell. Yeah, all Russell's going long did was let Verstappen get close to him basically, and that was just it was a strategy that I didn't get. Like they should have just pushed as much as they could have at the end. Like what? Why would you? I don't know. I didn't get it, but overall, good result for Mercedes. Probably one of the best of the season. On to the next one. We have McLaren, Piastri P2, 18 points. Norris P4, 12 points. Piastri has showed the pace McLaren has. He showed improvement in race pace. McLaren could be contenders. I think Piastri might get his first win soon. I think it's possible. Norris didn't have as much pace as Piastri, but a good team result overall. I think I would have liked Norris to do a little bit better. I think they could have had second and third possibly, but it is what it is, I guess. But I like the result. It's still good. They're still trying to claw into that race for the championship. So I respect it. Hopefully they can keep consistent, and if they do, they'll catch the next team, which is Ferrari. Sainz P3, 15 points. Leclerc P1, 25 points. Sainz had a good race, was saved by the red flag after getting the puncture after hitting, I think it was Piastri, and thankfully they both recovered just fine because of the red flag. Sainz got reinstated to P3. Piastri didn't have any real damage, so it was all good. And then Leclerc wins his home race at Monaco for the first time. Ferrari has been in the championship. Interesting again. They're only a few points behind Verstappen, Leclerc is, and even the constructors are just a few points behind too. So, like, if Verstappen has a DNF and Ferrari wins, they're going to be in the lead. And I mean, I think, and with McLaren in there too, like, it could be really interesting. And I'm excited for the next few races to see if McLaren or Ferrari can steal another win from Red Bull, because if they do, it's gonna be pretty cool. So yeah, it's exciting. Red Bull, Perez DNF, Verstappen P6, 8 points. Verstappen didn't qualify well, made mistakes. He hit the wall in qualifying on the last lap. Red Bull need to find pace again and stop making mistakes. And this is not something we've seen from Verstappen in a long time. Actually, he's been really good at not making mistakes, not hitting the wall, not basically just not putting a foot wrong. And lately, it seems like he's been putting a foot wrong. I think from his interviews, it seems like it's mostly the car that is not as good as it used to be. So yeah, but he has to drive better though. I guess that means so. And last but not least, Perez, casualty of the K-Mag reign of terror. For some reason, European racetracks are not Perez's strength. Like he just doesn't do well at them. Because last year in Monaco, he had that crash at Q3. This year, crash in lap one. Like he just is unlucky. He's very unlucky in Europe. So it's a tough one for Perez. This was a tough race overall to watch. Like the first lap was interesting with the crash, but after that, there was really nothing in this race. It was sad. It was like they didn't even know what to show on TV. They just showed the race between Sainz and Perez and Piastri, but it was never really a race. Like at one point, Sainz was like a few seconds ahead, so it was weird. Anyway, tune in next week for the Canadian Grand Prix on F1 Chat. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.